You're going to eat the flesh of your own babies. That's one of the curses.
From my understanding, the Israelites believe that black people have been justifiably and rightfully cursed by God, and that is why we have been and will continue to be oppressed. My confusion comes in because in Galatians, it says that Jesus, or Yeshua, tomato, redeemed us from all the curses of the law by becoming a curse for us. The last part of what I just said literally tells us that this character is a curse, and we are not going to ignore that. But our focus for now is on the first part. I'll repeat it. It says, Jesus redeemed us from all curses of the law. Why then did all of this black oppression happen after his alleged death? And why do y'all still claim that black people are cursed?
So if you don't know the concept of black people being cursed in Hebrews, the Hebrew Israelites, or most Hebrew Israelites, believe that black people are cursed. Now, what they would tell people is that even though that they are cursed, they are a set apart nation, right? They are a royal priesthood, this, that, and the third. You can't have these same narratives in the same category. You can't preach that you're a holy nation, that you're God's favorite people, and then be cursed at the same time. It doesn't go together. This whole dynamic of being blessed and cursed only shows up one time. This whole specific case of being put into bondage and being sent back to Egypt in ships, you only see this one time. The scenario here isn't to give you a prophecy of what's going to happen to the Israelites. It's to emphasize the curses that will be laid upon the Hebrews if they are to disobey God in his commandments. But what Israelites will tell you is that specifically with this scripture, this signifies and this prophesies that black people were going to be brought back to, let me turn this down. That black people were to be sent back to Egypt. Some people will say that Egypt signifies the house of bondage or represents bondage. It doesn't represent that at all, because when you look at the word bondage in Egypt in Hebrew, they are signifying two different things. When they talk about going back to Egypt, it's talking about the physical place of Egypt, all right? And it signifies that many times throughout the Bible. So whenever you see when it says in the Bible how the Israelites were brought out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, it's not talking about Egypt being the house of bondage. It's talking about the place where they were captivated. They can still dwell within Egypt and not be in captivity. And that has happened. With this also being said, when I was talking about, figuratively speaking, right? Because as we know, the Bible is spoken in allegory, illustrations, and figurative forms of speaking. If we're going to use this particular script and say that this is what they actually meant when they were talking about how they were going to be sent back in ships to Egypt, right? And we're going to say somehow that Egypt replicates America. Then what about this script in Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 53, where it tells you, and thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters. And it tells you that you're going to eat your own babies. And really, if you want to look at it, what type of God are you serving to where he commands you to eat your own babies, even if it's figurative? Let that sink in. You're going to eat the flesh of your own babies. That's one of the curses. Now, if you are to say that this is just something figuratively being said to you, right? God don't actually mean we're going to eat the flesh of our babies. Then how can you use one script that says you're going to be sent back to Egypt in ships and have that be the pinnacle for your whole argument of why you're Israelites? How are you going to have that to be the centerpiece of so many prophecies coming to pass concerning black people?